Hi everyone. In this video, we will cover setting up SI 2017. Now, depending on your user permissions, and those would have been determined by the person who set you up as a user, you may or may not have permission to change any or all of the settings that we're going to see under the control panel. So let's go ahead and go to the control panel, and to get there, go to Start, Setup, Control Panel. And this is where all of your settings for SI 2017 reside. This video will not cover all of the settings here under the control panel, but it will cover the key settings for getting started with SI 2017. For complete details on all of these settings, you can check out our online user's guide, and you can access that via this Learn More link here in the upper right-hand corner. The first setting we'll look at is company information. Here, you can enter your address, your phone number, your fax number, email, website, and you can even upload your company logo here. This address and logo will be used on most of the reports inside of SI 2017. You can also load a company profile. If you click this tab here that says Profile RTF, that will open up this interface where I've loaded a rich text format or RTF file into the software. This is an optional client report that you can use when you're presenting to your clients. You can click the New button here to open WordPad and create one from scratch, or if you already have a company profile saved as an RTF file, you could click the Attach button here. If you need to ever edit this, just click the Open button. And again, that is an optional client report inside of SI 2017. Next, we'll take a look at users. Here you can create new users or manage existing users. To create a new user, click the New button and enter their name, email, mobile number. You can choose a role if you want to, and you can manage this list of roles here at the top. There's no permissions set behind the roles here. This is just assigning who they are within your company, like designer or project manager or sales rep, whatever roles you decide to create. And if you want, you can also put a cost per hour here. This is completely optional, but it can be used in our scheduling interfaces for tasks and service orders. After entering that information, you can choose whether you're going to give them permission to sign in a system integrator or mobile installer or both. If we check this option here, you can enter a username and a password for this person, as well as choose a group. Now this is where permissions come into play. There are two default groups, administrator and standard user, but you can create as many as you need, or you can even modify that standard user group just by clicking the user groups button, and again selecting one to modify it, or creating a new one by clicking the new button, giving it a name, and then choosing what permissions you're going to grant or deny your users, and then of course assign them to that group. And you can get complete information on those settings in the online user guide. And when you click save and close, that user would be emailed their login credentials. You can also choose if you're going to set them up as a mobile installer or solely as a mobile installer. All that's required here is their email address, and then you can choose whether to set them up as an installer or an administrator. The difference between the two is an installer can only see their tasks and service orders when logged into the mobile install interface. An administrator would see all tasks and service orders. And once again, if you save and close this, that person would be emailed their login credentials, in this case with a temporary password for the mobile installer interface. And that's how you set up users in SI 2017. Another important aspect of setting up SI 2017 is to decide how you want to charge for labor. And there are two primary methods for charging for labor. Per product, which is using a phase assigned to the product that has a labor rate set behind it and a number of hours, or using labor line items, which are just parts of your catalog. And we'll cover those in another video within this Getting Started series. If you do decide to charge labor per item, you're going to want to set up your phase rates. So if you double click this, it will open the phase interface here. And here you see the stock 4 phases that ship with SI: rough-in, trim, finish, and programming. For each one of these phases, at a minimum, you're going to want to set up a base cost and a base price. So this is your cost per hour for rough-in labor, and then your selling price per hour for rough-in labor. And if you just enter the base labor price fields in for each one of these phases, that can get you going with SI. If you want to get a little more complex with your labor, you can add miscellaneous management or design, as you see these fields here, where you'll enter a cost and a price for those. The big difference between these fields and the base labor is the base is always factored at 100%. Here, for miscellaneous management and design, you would choose a percentage of an hour that you would want to charge. So just as an example, if I enter a rate in here for, say, management, and I put the cost is $85 an hour, the sell price $125 an hour, when you tab over here, you're going to pick a percentage of an hour, say maybe 10% of an hour. And you can see it'll do the math for you on that and charge an appropriate rate here. So rather than charging $100 an hour for rough-in work, it's now $112.50 because it's factoring in 10% of every hour of the rough-in phase in a project at the management rate. And that can get a little complex, and you might end up changing this number constantly depending on the size of a project. So if you're not comfortable with that, of course, you can leave these fields blank and just fill in the base cost and the base price for each one of these phases. Now, regarding the names of these phases, rough-in, trim, and finish, you may be tempted to change those, say rough-in to pre-wire. The only thing to be cautious about if you do that is when you download products from DTools, which we're going to cover in another video in this series, every product you download from us will be assigned either rough-in, trim, or finish as a phase. There'll also be a set number of hours that, of course, you can adjust if you disagree with the time that we've put on the product. But if you change these names, say from rough-in to pre-wire, if you were to download a rough-in product from DTools, we wouldn't know what phase name you've changed it to, so you'll have to make sure that you set that phase manually. And if you'd like more information on phases, you can certainly find that in our online user guide. And the last one we're going to look at here in this video are your tax settings. Another important thing to set up in the beginning, so when you start creating projects, proper taxes can be applied. If you double click this, you'll see I've got a tax set to 7% and labor tax set to 7%. Now, those are the two default taxes that will be in the list, tax or labor tax. If you don't charge labor tax, just leave that value at 0, then it will not be charged. But you can manage your taxes here, and you can create as many tax levels as you need. And when you're creating a project in SI, part of the wizard, you will be able to choose an appropriate tax for that project. So you can enter as many of these out here as you need. Set your default to be whatever your most common tax rate is, and then again, on a per project basis, you can change that. To create a new tax, you would just simply choose tax, open this up, give it a name, and set a rate. You also have the ability to create tax groups out here, if that appeals to you, where you can take a combination of taxes and put them into a group, maybe like a PST and a GST combined into one tax group, if that applies to your province. So those are taxes, and again, you can set these up on a per project basis, but it's a good idea to come out here and set up all of your known tax rates that you will be using for your projects. That way you just have to select them from a drop down later on when you're creating a project. And those are your primary settings for setting up SI 2017. While there are a lot more out here, and you can find additional information again with our online user guide, just click the Learn More link up here. For now, if you get those set, your phase rates, your tax settings, set up your users, and enter your company information, you can begin creating projects. And a lot of these lists you'll just build over time as you work throughout the software.